Welcome in, Big Blue Nation, to another episode of the Cats Talk podcast. I'm your host, Cameron Johnston, joined by my co-host, Tyler Britton. Tyler, the Kentucky women's schedule, the non-conference slate, is officially over after Kentucky's win on Sunday afternoon. They finished the non-con at 13-1, with really only one poor showing, and even then, we'll break that Maryland game down a little bit more, but through the first 14 games of the season, I'm not sure we could have asked much more from a lot of these girls on the court and Kenny Brooks, who's leading this team. Just kind of want to get your overall takeaways of what you thought of these women so far as they finish the non-conference slate.
Yeah, absolutely. It's exciting to be 13-1 here at the break here. 12-0 against all 9 ranked teams, which is all we can ask for there. And splitting 1-1, beating Louisville, being the only between us and I don't know if Kentucky women's volleyball beat them too, but minus those two, the only ones that really got the tone set against Louisville, because we couldn't do that in football or basketball this year. So kudos to the girls there. And then we fell short against Maryland, but Maryland is no joke, sitting there ranked pretty high. I think they're ranked number 5 right now in the country. So can't ask for a much better start here. Some positives that come to mind right away. Kenny Brooks will be the first one to say it, is the team camaraderie that you have, the team chemistry that you see on the court. Everyone plays well. No one's above the team. Obviously Claire's going to showcase her stats every single game day, but she doesn't have to be the star of the show. And I think that's a credit to Kenny Brooks and the style he plays with it, that he creates for the team, and the recruits and talent that he brings into the court.
Yeah, and let's just go ahead and talk about some of these games. Just go ahead and go through the schedule of teams that they've played, and just the margin of defeat that they've had in some of these games. Morehead State, which Tyler, we were there for. That game was, if you remember correctly, I know that was almost 2 months ago now. Feels like 3 years ago, if I'm being honest. But November 3rd, they faced Morehead State. If you remember how livid Kenny Brooks was after that game, when they only won that game by 16, and then they came out that Thursday and won by nearly 60 points against Monmouth, he really made his point clear, just going from game 1 to game 2, that beating Morehead State by 16 is not good enough here.
Yeah, I would hate to be one of the girls in the locker room, It's funny because we a win like that, almost, usually you're like, oh, I would hate to be in a locker room for a defeat like that. No, for a win like that, you don't want to be in the locker room with Kenny Brooks. It's just insane to think about. And I think that goes to credits Kenny Brooks and his level of standard of play that he has for this team. He expects excellence from his players. Clara Strack is obviously the pivotal point. He'll talk about her a lot, but he has expectations for all the girls on the court. He expects Amelia Hassan to be able to hit threes and to do her thing on the floor. Tiana Key, Tony Morgan, all these people on the court. He has high expectations for. And if you're watching there in the game, we have the luxury of going to many of these home games, and I look over at Kenny Brooks often. It might be something small, but he gets after them on the court, and that's just a credit for him to find that. I think he said in his last press conference, he's always looking for the negatives to correct those, even in a big dominant win. So even though we're looking like, oh man, that was a 40-point win, that was a 60-point win, Kenny Brooks is still finding the negatives. Hey, we need to clean up this, we need to clean up that, because going against LSU here in a couple of days, that's not going to fly. Those small mistakes, they're not going to fly against these top teams.
Yeah, definitely not. Then they continued their dominance, rattled off 5 straight against Buffalo, South Carolina Upstate, Marshall, Purdue, and obviously our first road women's game that we got to go to at the University of Louisville. And that was a great game. And there for a while, felt like they were really struggling during that game against Louisville. They were struggling for a big portion of that game. And then as something, you and I have termed and Kenny has said, like that third quarter blitz that they have. They came out in that game, had a dominant third quarter, rallied them to get a extended lead there, and a game in which Tony Morgan was terrific. She had 19 points, 7 assists in that one, and really just honestly put the team on her back and carried the team to a win in that game. And this Louisville team's a good team. I mean, right now they're ranked 21st in the country. That's obviously our best win to date. Anytime you can throw L's down in their place, it's a great time. And Tyler, we were there watching that game. If you remember correctly, we were in the media room before the game. We're not sure how this is going to go out. You've heard Louisville's got a good team, not as good as usual. But I don't know if you remember the smile that I had on my face watching all those Louisville media members watch SMU beat them by 55. Now, granted, I do want to preface this. I know they beat us by 55 the very next week. So I am going to preface this with saying that. But man, the smile on my face, I don't know if I've had a smile this big since then.
Yeah. Lady Cats are dominant on the court. The men's teams, they need to grow up. We'll get into that in a different podcast, a different day. But for the fans who obviously weren't there with us, this guy was so excited. He was pushing the limits after the game, taking photos on the half court. Staff was looking at us. They were like, "You guys gotta get off the court." And this guy's like, and I'm just like, dude, this is our first time on the road. What are we doing here? So for the fans out there who don't appreciate how excited this kid gets out there on the road, or against any team for that matter, but especially Louisville, he was excited.
It was. I know you kept trying to tone me down out there. I had the L's down. And Tyler, do you remember we saw a fan in the stand sitting pretty close to us in the media row that had the Louisville T-shirt on and a Kentucky hat? And I've never been more disgusted in my entire life. I didn't know what to do. I took a picture of the guy. I never put it anywhere because I didn't want this guy to get roasted too hard. But if you hear this and you know who you are out there, I just want to let you know that is a sin. That is, I'm not sure if you can come back from.
We might have to, invite them onto the podcast so we can have a conversation with them. Transparently, I was thinking about this. The only thing that came to mind is a lot of times they have a loyalty to one school, but they have a kid that goes to play for the other school, and so they split the colors. I could see it. Other than that, anything other than that reason, I got nothing for you, Cam. I mean, that's just despicable. Maybe even if you're from the city of Louisville and you're rooting for, you just can't do it. That's just unacceptable. Growing up a Ohio State fan myself, like you just never wear the team up North colors whatsoever. Period. Point blank. Especially on game day, especially at their house, you ain't doing it. So that's just despicable. You can't do that in that game. Other than the exception of maybe you have a kid playing for the team, I get it. Fine. Other than that, get out of here with that.
Yeah, I just don't get it. There's no explaining this to me.
This guy has no empathy.
No empathy at all. And then and the craziest part was, Tyler, if you remember, like he was cheering for both sides the entire game. So this guy had loyalty to both sides throughout the entire game. I don't really know how it worked. Either way, he wasn't going home sad because his team was going to win. Now, granted, that's a little easier when you pick both teams, but nonetheless, I mean, this was obviously it's been Kentucky's best win so far throughout the season. Hopefully that changes on Thursday on New Year's when they play LSU. But I mean, Tyler, what did you see from this team during that game that you think they can transition to use in conference play? Because if you remember, like Tiani Key had a pretty good game in this one. Clara obviously put up Clara numbers. Tony Morgan was that facilitator. What do you think they can take from playing in a hostile environment at Louisville and take that and use against LSU on Thursday when they're going to be playing in a hostile environment? Because when they played Maryland, another quality opponent, that game was in Puerto Rico. There was staff, maybe some family members, and that was it. So when you go to a hostile environment like Baton Rouge with Kim Mulkey, what can they take from that LSU crowd and bring to that game?
Yeah, great question. Kind of looking at the Louisville game there, I think you just have to remember that the moment's never too big. You've been here before, you've done that before. Having veterans on the team like Clara, for example, I mean that's going to be a huge help. Coming into these games, she's been there, she's done that. She's going to be class personified the entire time. I don't see the moment being too big for her there. And then the rest of the team, I think they just need to follow suit with that. Obviously, we have some depth there in terms of experience coming back onto the court too. So just taking those, bringing those along with you, just being calm in the moment. It is going to be a hostile environment. LSU or Louisville was too. You're able to get through that. I think as long as you're able to go in there and do your style of play, Kenny Brooks' style of play with these tall players that we have, Clara, Tiani, and a few others, Amelia. We need to be able to drive to the basket and kind of rely on the 3-point shot, secondary, the field goal percentages as secondary. Scam, I don't know if you're looking through the stat sheets, in terms of SEC numbers, but we're not right near the top. in any of the categories in terms of shooting, but we can get there to the basket. We can control that. Our defense is pretty good as well. We can play good, solid defense and drive to the basket, complement with a couple threes and a couple good field goals. That'll make the difference in the game. We're really good at the free throw line as well, so we can continue that and keep that on the road. I think those are going to be the keys to success, at least from my eyes there.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you because Louisville didn't necessarily have that star player. They didn't have any. They had a girl there in the first half that scored. I mean, I think she had like 18 in the first half, something crazy like that. And then they transitioned. They took Amelia off of her in the second half, and that's when everything really started to click, and the defense started to play at what was an elite level for the second half. And we kind of thought that they were going to take that momentum and ride that into that Maryland game. And really, it was almost like I don't want to be too critical of this Maryland game because again, it's the seventh team in the country. It's a very good team. You only lost by 8. It was out in Puerto Rico. A lot of things are going on. This is the day before Thanksgiving. Like there's a lot of factors that go into this game, when it was played, where it was played, all of this. They only lost by 8, Tyler, and they had 20 turnovers in the game. They had 4 more turnovers than assists. They didn't shoot the ball well. They shot the ball like 40, let's see, what was it here? 43% from the field. They actually shot the ball pretty well from 3 in this game, but you look at this, and I'm thinking they're getting blown out just looking at the box score. Like, this was a tough game to try and find to watch because I was trying to find a game to watch, and it was on a TV provider that I had never heard of. When I looked it up, the first thing that they were known for was their drone flying races. So first off, I just want to say this: like, this was a top 10 matchup. Why were we on? I can't remember the name of the service, the streaming platform, and I'm sorry to just disrespect them like this. They had no business covering this game. I couldn't find it, and I tried for however long. So all I could go with is what Darren Hendrick is doing on the radio and going on the box score. But I look at this box score, and a lot of this tells me that they shouldn't have been close in this game, and still somehow they only managed to lose by 8 points while having 20 turnovers.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm looking at the stat sheet here for that game. We shot the higher percentages, except for free throws. They beat us in free throws. It's really what came down to, which is weird because we're ranked pretty high in terms of our free throw percentage in the country
They
itself.
shot 23 free throws as opposed to our 8, which is one of the main reasons. That's what I'm saying. There's so many things that in this box score that you look at, and you're like, how are we 8 points? Like, I don't understand how we were 8 points. We only made 1 more 3 than they did. They scored 15 more points from the free throw line than we did. Like, how did we keep this game so close with all of these auxiliary stats that you're seeing?
It really does come down to, I think, I didn't have the luxury to be able to actually watch the game like you did. I didn't get to the channel there, but
I didn't get
just
to watch it either. That's the problem.
Yeah, we need to figure that out for a future Puerto Rico game. Maybe we should just get credentialed and go and they fly us out there and all that stuff. But we're looking for a partner that would send us there. I'm just throwing that out there. I'm going to throw that into the channel here. But
I'm sure they would have credentialed us for that game. I think the problem would have been us being able to get
insert sponsor here, sending us to Puerto Rico, and then we'll give you content live from Puerto Rico next year. But
we could have streamed it live from our phones. It might have been the same service. We would have got more fans to watch it.
Yeah, no kidding. But that kind of goes back to my point earlier. We are ranked we are ranked number 2 in the SEC. No, excuse me. We are ranked number 3 in the SEC for free throw shots at 75.7, which is exactly where we were at there. But we only had 8 shots, so 75% means 6. Great. Kind of goes back to my point though. If we can drive that basketball in a lot more, there's going to be more fouls that come with that, which means we're going to have more free throw opportunities. With how good we do shoot from that area, I'm not opposed to taking a lot of free throw shots. Obviously, I like the 2s and 3s and the guarantees. I get that. But I think if we're counting with a bunch of fouls and then the other players are fouling out and getting in foul trouble early, that does benefit us too. So I do like going to the free throw line and shooting our shot because I know we can do it game in, game out. That's been a consistent part of our season so far. And there's really no difference in pressure. There's a little difference in pressure with the crowds, but we've already proven that we can do it on the road or at home.
Yeah, and I like what you brought up with just talking about the free throw disparity in general there. Like the way this team plays with the size and the length that they have, you have to get to the free throw line. Because even Toni Morgan, she can slice and get into the paint. She can touch the paint from almost anywhere where she gets the ball. She's still not a great perimeter threat. Clara, while her game is stretching out further and further, she's still not I'd say, reliable 3-point threat. Amelia Hassett had a great game on Sunday. There's some games where you look at it and you're like, man, I think she can probably hit like 6 threes a game. Then there's some games where you look at it and you're like, boy, I needed her to stop shooting those. So what we need to do is we have to get to the free throw line in this game against LSU. And you mentioned it, get some of their star players in foul trouble. I think that'll go a long way too. But I don't think there can be games like this when you're facing a team as good as Maryland is, when you're giving up 16 shots on the free throw line. Like, you can't have that big of a disparity with the way we play, because we don't take as many perimeter shots as a lot of these SEC teams are going to take. So we need to make those margins up in the paint and at the free throw line.
Yeah, I agree. And look, I think someone that we've kind of been leaving out in this conversation, Asia Boone coming in and playing the way she does, her style of play, she could very easily find herself at the free throw line a lot too. And I feel good about that too. Just seeing her get up there, I think that gets her into a rhythm. I know she was kind of filling in right now, but she obviously has the sixth starter role pretty much. She's out there starting minutes, just rotating a little bit. But I think she could be she can be that player that gets out there and becomes really dangerous for the other team, because she'll put those players in foul trouble. She'll make her shots, and then you're leaving it up for the other players on our team to do their jobs too. But I agree with you. I think we've already discovered that our identity is driving the ball a little bit, even though we have the ability to shoot from three. Because, like you said, Amelia Hassett, for example, this last game, she was going off. We loved it. But then there's other games where it's like, Amelia, where are you at, girl? You need to come out here and shoot that ball. Lexi Blue went off that one game. We're like, great, where has she been since? So it's like we have those games where you hit those threes. Then we have other games where we just fall flat. We're not Steph Curry, the Splash Brothers here. We're hit or miss on our free ball. But if we can go in there and drive the basket, game in, game out, and then complement it with the three ball, those are how we're going to win some of those big games, especially the home games when we have the crowd on our side.
Yeah, and you kind of mentioned, there's streakiness of Amelia Hassett. I mean, she went 5 of 8 from 3-point line in the game on Sunday, and that just now got her 3-point percentage up to 32% on the year. So the streakiness is something we're going to have to. I don't want to live and die with just being like, okay, Amelia didn't hit threes today, we lost. I know that's a lot to put on her shoulders, but that is her and Asia specifically. That is their biggest selling points into what they provide this team. Now, Amelia gives you a little bit of length, and obviously Asia right now is doing a tremendous job running as the backup point guard. I mean, she had 7 assists against Hofstra on Sunday, and that's a part of her game that we hadn't seen quite yet. After transferring in, she was a shooting guard coming in, learning from Toni Morgan and kind of taking that backup point guard role. She's really started to develop in that, and I think hopefully, you never need her to be that starting point guard. Maybe Toni Morgan gets in foul trouble. You do feel a bit more confident with the ability of her to go out there and, I'm not going to say run the show, but to buy you some time while Toni gets a breather.
Absolutely. Another player that we've saw great flashes from as well, Jordan Obi there. I mean, she's been doing well all season. She's averaging about 11.2 points per game there. What are your thoughts with her going into SEC play? Because we've seen her with some games where she's taking over the floor, and we're like, wow, okay, Jordan Obi, she's the girl. She's leading this team here from start to finish there. And then there's other games, more so just talking about this last game here, where maybe she's not necessarily the biggest part, but she's out there. She's out there. She's a force to be reckoned with, but she's not necessarily the big part of the offense. What are your thoughts with her and SEC play? What do you expect from her?
Yeah, even though she's our second shortest starter that we have, and technically one of the shorter girls that we have on the team, she is our most physical player. And you need her to show that throughout an entire 40 minutes of the game. That's something that you need her to show up game in, game out, and deliver on those qualities that she has. Because there's games where she goes out there and she is the offense to start. We've been at a couple games where she's the first 6 points of the teams. She got all of the 6 points, and then she gets a rebound putback, rebound kickback out to somebody else. I think with her, I don't want to say it's an effort concern, because I think she's giving full effort. I think it's just more physicality. Like this, that's what she brings this team. That is her niche. She's a physical player. She's the second leading rebounder on this team, and she's really like our two guard. Like right now, your shooting guard is the second leading rebounder on your team. That's terrific to have. I just need her to show up and be physical, especially like you mentioned in games against like Louisville and Maryland, what we're going to see going up against LSU. Because it's easy to push around people from Morgan State, Central Michigan, Belmont, Wright State, who Kentucky all just got wins over. But what are you going to do when you go at LSU? And that's something that I want to see from Jordan. Obviously, I mean, she's still, we haven't really talked about it, she's still recovering from a season ending injury last year. That this is her first action since then. Like these are her first 14 games since then. Hopefully she's back and fully into basketball shape and feeling confident in herself. And I think just that confidence and the ability and the want to, I think can take Jordan very far.
I agree with you. I think Jordan is that wild card, that player there that she seems like she's caught her stride already. So I'm not going to try to disrespect her like that. But if she can continue with how she's been for the most part all year, I think that she will be a force to be reckoned with. And look, I'll be honest, like I think what I could be wrong. I'm not going to speak on behalf of the other coaches. Definitely not the SEC coaches, but for the non-conference games, I wonder how many of the non-conference coaches that we played against were watching film on this team. And of course, you see the Clara Stracks of the world, the Amelia Hassett's of the world, and you're like, okay, like we're competing against these tall players, and then you see Jordan Obi on the court, and you're like, she's not really that big of a player. Let's not worry about her too much. I think, and transparently, I was the same way. We were at those games, and I was looking at the court, and we would see the same players. And okay, Jordan Obi's not really the tall one of the bunch. But then we were at courtside the other day, and I was watching Jordan Obi on the court. I'm like, that's a big girl. I'm 6'2", and she was sizing me up just being on the court herself. And then you look at some of those opponents that she was playing against, and she was towering them. So she is a force to be reckoned with. She is built to drive the ball there to the basket. So I do expect a lot from her. Come SEC play, I think she'll be the difference maker on how we get to the down the paint there. If she can drive and make it physical, make it hell for the opponents there, then that allows open lanes for Clara or Amelia to drive the ball when we're passing the ball out there. That'll open up three shots later in the game too, when everybody's scared about the drive up the middle. They're gonna be like, okay, cool, well, we're gonna cover that, and then you pass outside. Amelia's hanging out there for a three ball. So I think Jordan. I'm not saying we're going to live or die by Jordan Obi, but she is going to be pivotal. If we can get her going for SEC play, that's going to be a part of the difference that's going to take to get good conference play here.
Yeah, and the thing about Jordan is a lot of the things that she brings to the table are a lot of things that you can control just based on effort. Like when we're talking about Amelia and Asia being like wild cards based on how they shoot, it's not really something that you can control that much. That's going to vary game to game just based on, I mean, anything. Like how you slept wrong the night before. It varies from that. Like there's so many things. But I think Jordan and Tony specifically can be those rocks that like what you're getting from them. Tony's going to lead the offense. She's going to facilitate for everyone else. And then Jordan, just be that menace down low. Like you're going to have, you mentioned, she's still pretty sizable person when it comes to like being a two guard. She's still going to have a size mismatch. Let's use that. Let's utilize that. If there's games where, let's say, Clara is off, Clara's not shooting the ball well, if there's games where the three ball is not falling, I think she's almost like your backup in every single role and situation. Like, oh, Clara's not finishing back to the basket. Let's get Jordan Obi down there and let's post up that two guard as well because we're going to have the size and strength advantage with her. And then you mentioned, okay, Clara's in foul trouble. Who's your next best rebounder? It's Jordan. Get down there, get physical. So I'd like for her to be that mainstay, that rock that I think that she can be. And I think that'll help this team go and put up a good fight against LSU because I think she's going to be one that's going to have to set the tone early because usually Kim Mulkey teams, they're physical. So I think they're probably going to try and set the tone early, and hopefully Jordan answers that bell.
Absolutely there. And, we're looking at some of the other players on the team here. When we look at Jordan, we kind of said, like, she's the spark plug on the team. She's going to have to be productive. But someone else that we're going to have high expectations for, we've kind of alluded to her a lot already in this podcast, but how important is it for Clara Strack to continue her tear through the SEC or through play so far into the SEC? And just for context, this was put down in the game notes here for the upcoming game against LSU. Clara Strack is the only player in the nation with 16 points per game, 9 rebounds per game, and 3 blocks per game. She's the only player in the nation, so she's dominating. She's obviously our best player. She's obviously going to need to be the best player on the court, game in, game out. How important is it for her to continue to showcase in the SEC, and what do you expect for her against these tougher opponents like LSU, like Florida, like South Carolina?
Yeah, the main thing I think I always want to see with Clara is just what is that field goal percentage? Because there are games where we face harder competition, and that's usually when she struggles to shoot the ball and is not necessarily hitting on all cylinders. Like even that Maryland game, she only had 9 points and 9 rebounds, and you ended up losing by 8. If she gives you her normal 16, that game's a lot closer. If she just has her normal Clara Strack like debut, like you mentioned how crazy her stats are right now. 16 points, over 9 rebounds. I mean, she's also at 9.9 rebounds per game. So she's zero point 0.1 rebounds away from averaging a double double. We saw her almost get a triple double with blocks on Sunday. She had 7 blocks. I mean, what she does, like, you almost can't quantify what all she does on the court for the team. And the 1-2 punch of Tony Morgan and Clara Strack, like, once they find their groove and their niche together, like, I still don't think they fully found that. I still don't think they fully have that chemistry yet because those two in a pick and roll situation, like, I don't know if there's going to be one better in the country. Tony Morgan, I think, is still leading the NCAA in assists per game. You mentioned what Clara's doing. It's really exciting what those two can do. And really, the only thing you need from Clara, I think, is just continue to be physical. Like even in that game against Hofstra, Hofstra had, one big that kind of gave her a little bit of fits when it came to, just that sheer size. Because Clara is 6'5", but she doesn't really have much meat on the bones, if you know what I mean. There's a lot of these girls, like you look at like Audie Crooks at Iowa State, the girl from Hofstra had a similar type build as well. And they have, just more to work with. Clara sometimes struggles to deal with players like that, but I think if she can start to learn how to develop and take on physicality in games like these, I think that'll be the next step for her. But again, I can't really fault anything that she has done. You mentioned all the stats that she has. She's shooting over 50% from the floor, shooting a good free throw percentage. It's really just keep it up, be physical, and really just you and Tony be leaders of this team. Like it's your guys' team, take it over, and we're going to go as far as you two take us.
Yeah, I just want to point out, I forgot to mention this too. I'm glad you picked up on this. The 9.9 rebounds per game. Can we show some respect here? I mean, for God's sakes, just put 10 on the sheet, round up, call it a day. No one's going to blink an eye. She has a double-double. Clara, if you're hearing this, you need to go out on, what was it, Thursday? You need to go out there and just put up 15 rebounds, call it a day, that we can get up to that 10 there, and then just maintain that for the rest of the year. Good grief. I agree. I think Tony and Claire there, if they can pair up very well, that's going to help this team. I think that will be the difference game in, game out, is if you can pair those up and play really good basketball, complementary basketball to each other. I mean, Tony, I did look at while you were talking. She's number 2 in the country right now in assists.
She was tied for first.
The other, I don't know what happened. She's at 8.4. The other girl is, I think, at 9.2.
Ooh, man.
Yeah, 9.2. Caroline Lau from NU. So kudos to her, but yeah, Tony's still pretty good. We'll take her. I think she's playing tougher competition too. So
Yeah.
I think that'll be a good duo here, getting to SEC play. It's gonna make the difference. Sprinkling. I'll give Tony credit here. I mean, the fact that how unselfish she is with the basketball, and I know she can do well with the ball too. She's still averaging 12 points per game herself. But how selfless she is with the ball. She sets the tone for the rest of the team. And if I had to guess, the amount of times the ball gets passed around here and the amount of assists that we have game in and game out, that's something that she starts with, prides herself with, the ability to be able to get the ball out to the right person at the right time to get the shot up. And some of those shots are critical. It doesn't seem like it when we're winning by 40 to 60 points, but those are critical moments because, again, it takes, we practice, and I think Kenny kind of alludes to this in his own way, but you kind of practice like you play, even though you're playing these games. They're really warm-up games for what you're getting ready for. Kenny Brooks talked about it, with this last game. He's not trying to just win these games against the non-conference teams. He's preparing for the SEC play. So when you're getting sloppy, and that was his biggest pet peeve, I think, for really most of the games here obviously only having the one loss, was getting into the fourth quarter and kind of getting sloppy in the last 5 minutes. Those were always his biggest pet peeves, because you start doing that and then you start getting sloppy against some of the tougher teams when you shouldn't be. You can't have, a pass and then you catch the ball and your foot's out of bounds. You can't have that, even though you're up 40 points against, a team that doesn't really matter. Because when you go play against LSU, that foot out of bounds is going to give an extra position. It's going to be an extra 2 points that way. It's going to be essentially a net gain 4 points the other way. Because you're losing 10 points, they're going to gain 2 points. Is the way I look at it. So you can't do that against LSU. You can't do that against South Carolina, Florida, these other teams here. So, Kenny Brooks has been harping on all year. But I do agree. I think Tony Morgan, Clara Strack, I think if those two can get it going together, that would make the game the biggest difference going into the SEC play.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree with you more. And Tyler, you know how much I'm a fan of those pass first point guards. I mean, favorite player of all time, Rajon Rondo. And I tell you how much Tony Morgan kind of reminds me, like that's the way that she plays. She does what the team needs when the team needs it. And that's what you want your point guard to do. Be that unselfish player that, oh, today I need to pass the ball to Clara because Clara's got it going. Or like it was on Sunday, Amelia's hitting 5 threes, let me get her the ball. Or if it's, hey, man, nobody's really got it going offensively, I'm going to take this into my own hands and I'm going to create for the team as well. I mean, there's been 4 games this year where she's led the team in scoring. So, I mean, she's given you that asset as well. And Tyler, we've played in 14 games. We've had 7 different leading scorers so far this year. So, I mean, it kind of speaks to like how many people on this team can score when they need to. And I mean, that gives you a lot of confidence. Now, granted, I don't know if some of that's going to continue going forward. Now, granted, I'd love to see Asia Boone go off for 20 something a game. And I really think she's starting to hit that stride and getting comfortable in the system. But Tyler, we're 32 minutes into this recording, and we have yet to mention Tiani Key's name. And this was somebody who we were expecting a ton of coming into the season. Granted, I told you, like, there are some games where it looks like she's just, I don't want to say not interested or not like fully there. But there are some games where it looks like, oh, she's here to play, and she kind of takes over. She did it a little bit during that Louisville game, and then she had a really nice game against Central Michigan as well, where she had a double-double, 17 and 11. But it keeps me thinking and wondering, like, Tiani Key was such a big part of last year's team. Granted, she's missed some time this year. She only averaging 11 points and 5.8 rebounds per game. I think this team can take a whole nother step and a whole nother leap if you get that Tiani Key from last season and you really get her and Clara dominating the paint together. Because right now it kind of feels like Clara's taking a little bit more on her shoulders and Tiani's kind of letting off the gas a little bit. Now, granted, Tiani did not play against Hofstra. I'm not sure if she's going to be available for LSU. I haven't seen anything that would say either way, but just kind of want to get your thoughts on what you've seen so far this year from Tiani Key.
Yeah, I might be wrong here. I was doing some look up on it, ahead of the podcast here, but it looked like she had a lingering injury going all season here from the fall. So, it looked like she's trying to recover from that. She seems like she's day to day with that. She should be ready for SEC play, if not for this first game, especially more specifically down the road. So, I'm not too worried about her injury, at least from what I was reading into. I could be wrong, but I think kind of looking at it, she has 11 points per game. It's not too far off from everyone else who's there, other than Claire, obviously. She's at 16. Everyone else is at about 10 to 12 there. So she's right there in the middle. Could she have more? Absolutely. The way I'm looking at this is you put Tiani Key on any other team, on any other conference, she's probably the star of the show. Has she let off the gas a little bit? Maybe. But when you have a Clara Strack, or when you have Amelia Hassett, or when you have someone that, or Jordan Obi, or some, these other players on the court who can make the shot just the same and can play just as effective. I was going to make this point here during the transition, and you went down this rabbit hole too, so it actually fits in perfectly, but it's almost impossible to get 5 for 5 starters to play at their A game every single game with the amount of games you have. If you have 4 out of 5 playing great, super. If you have 3 out of 5, that's probably where you start hitting trouble here, but Tiani there, I think she's been kind of that person who goes back and forth a little bit, but she's been relying on the fact that she does have Clara Strack to pick up the slack there a little bit. And it's credit to having Clara Strack on the team. You love to be able to use it. You don't necessarily always want to rely on it. But Tiani Key does have that luxury of being able to say, hey, I do have Clara on Strack. So if I'm not the showcase of the game, it is what it is. But 11 points per game, 5.8 rebounds per game. Those aren't terrible numbers overall. She still does have a good free throw percentage here, 71. So she does lead the team in field goal percentage. So when she is taking her shot, she's making it more than anybody else on the team. But I'm not too worried about it just yet, unless this injury thing is something that we actually need to be concerned about long term. But I agree. I think if she can become more part of the offense there, more part of the team, I think that could make the difference in how we finish the year. I'm not worried about it just yet, though.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily worried about the offensive output. She's doing similar numbers to what she had last year. I think she's averaging like zero point 0.4 points less. But we also have more players that are scoring the ball this year than last year. Last year we kind of relied on 3 to 4 players to basically carry the team, and if those guys didn't go for 80 plus, we weren't winning the game. Mine is that last year she averaged 8.3 rebounds a game. So far this year, 5.8. 2.5 per game. I mean, that's a big difference, and that's something I'm hoping, like you're mentioning, it's just because we are playing against Hofstra and teams like that where she might not really need to go out there and dominate the boards like that when she has Clara. We mentioned Jordan Obi doing her part there as well. But when we get in SEC play, man, I really need to get back to that 8 rebounds per game Tiani Key. Because there's going to be games where Clara's going to get into foul trouble or Jordan is going to be in foul trouble. Amelia's not going to be hitting threes and you're going to need to have Tiani step up. And I need to see it from a rebounding perspective.
Yeah, I'm looking right here. We are averaging, about 42.9 rebounds per game, according to ESPN, which, let me see. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th in conference right now. So obviously that changes when we start playing actual conference teams too, and the height difference actually levels out a little bit. So it would be nice to have her out there, and if nothing else, for the rebounds too. Cause having a 6'5" body out there in women's sport is just insane. So to have 2 of those,
and one that's 6'4", so I mean you basically have 3 of them.
Yeah, 3 towers. I mean, come on. Let's put those
called
down
the
in the paint.
triplets. They're called the triplets for a reason, man.
It's almost three and a half women here. I mean, you got the 3 towers there, and you got Jordan Obi, who's 6'1". And I know that it's not that much of a difference, but at the same time, like in basketball, it is.
Shooting guard. That's a small shooting guard.
It's insane that Jordan Obi is able to make the difference she does as well. But again, I see that more of a credit her being 6'1" against all these other 5'8" guards out there that she's playing against. But yeah, I think complimenting her in there. The only person we're really not expecting to get too many rebounds is going to be Toni Morgan there. So I do agree. I think Tiani Key, if she can come back and she can play very well there in her position, I think that'll make a huge difference here for us, especially as we play the tougher competition, the taller competition, for that matter, is what I'm probably more so alluding to with how we're going to have to play and more physicality that we're going to be facing up against.
Okay, Tyler, we've talked about all 14 games that we've played so far in the non-conference. Report cards are due. This is midway part of the season. 13-1. What do you give Kenny Brooks and this team so far through the non-conference schedule?
I would have to give them. I hate to say this and then have it backfire on me later, but I'm going to give them an A. No, the only reason why I don't give them an A plus is they didn't go 2-0 against their ranked games. And I think they even at the end of the day, we were just discussing the numbers against Maryland. They had the ability to win. We just lost. I don't even want to say we lost a free throw battle. They just had more than us.
Which is losing a free throw battle, but yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, sure, the percentage was high, and I guess they had more of this. So sure, they did that part right. We didn't have the opportunity to do it. So yes, they won that round, and I think that was the toughest competition to date. It was in a neutral site. You had to fly out to Puerto Rico. It was a weird place to play. I'm not going to hold that against us too much. But overall, I mean, they've corrected things on the fly. We were talking about the level of standard they have. You go against, I forget who they played week 1 now, but they play a team. They don't put up the points. They don't have the point differential they expected. They don't play the right defense. They don't play the right offense. And you correct those on the spot. And then by the next game, they're correcting those issues. like nothing happened. Like they went through practice and they practiced it all off season. So the foundations are there, the culture's there, the chemistry's there. I think there's still room to grow on it, but it's not like what we're seeing on the men's team where it's like, dude, what like what's happening here? Like, this team they came built in well. They're expected to compete very well with the SEC here. So I give them an overall A just because their overall performance has been well. They went 13-1. They went perfect 14-0. I would give them an A plus, but for the time being, I'll give them an A.
Yeah, well, thanks for asking what I would give them. I guess I'll just say it anyways. Typical podcast fashion, I throw you a question, you throw it back to me. But don't worry, I'll host and lead. I'll do it.
Figured you would answer it yourself anyway. I didn't think I had to. This was like
I'll do it all here. Yeah, I'm used to running the whole show, so I got it here. I'm gonna go ahead and go with an A minus. I don't think you can give them a full A just because of that Maryland loss, and more in which the fashion in which they lost. They had so many chances to get back into that game. Like 20 turnovers. They just kept, and it almost seemed like there was no. We've talked at length about how great Kenny Brooks is getting this team to come out of the locker room and attack a third quarter. The ability to make game time decisions, just switch up the game plan to whatever's working. It seemed like there was nothing going on in that Maryland game that really ever allowed us to do that. Now, granted, those other 13 games of the season, terrific. And I think Tony Morgan, I think what they did with going to get her out of the transfer portal and replacing Georgia Amore, who's a top 10 pick in the WNBA draft, and what she's done in filling her shoes and, if not being a better facilitator than Georgia was, has been outstanding. I just simply can't give them an A just because of that loss to Maryland. And I think if they would have done that, I think they'd be passing everything with flying colors. And I'd be probably a little bit more, I don't want to say excited because I'm still very excited about what this team can do, but I wouldn't be as nervous about this LSU game because this LSU team that we play on Thursday, Tyler, whew, they're good. So I'm going to say A minus. I know you've got them at an A, so we're splitting hairs here. But either way, I think we can say that we're proud of what this women's team has done so far through the non-conference.
Absolutely. I think there's a lot to your point, there's a lot of hold your head up for, if you're on the Cats right now, you should be looking like, hey, like we're doing good. You should have full confidence going into this SEC play. That's not to say you shouldn't look at some film here and just be like, hey, like what are some things that I can fix? And what are some ways I can do to make my team better? And if I'm not having my A game, what can I do to make sure that I can get the team to still be on A level? I'm sure Kenny Brooks is going through those scenarios right now with the team day in, day out. I'm sure he has his iPads open and he's sending emails out or whatever the kids are doing nowadays to communicate. I'm sure he's getting that information out to me. I just dated myself with emails, I'm sure. But, I'm sure they're getting ready for this game here. But, Cam, I do have a question for you. So they're playing at LSU.
Wait, before that, did you remember to send over the pre-podcast recording fax or no? Did you forget the fax? Did you send over the fax machine while you're over here doing your emails and everything? They're emailing each other back and forth?
It's, no.
Yeah. Old man out here dating himself with emailing them back and forth. They could just text or call, but yeah, we'll email back and forth.
Got me off guard here. But yeah, so going, Cam, I'm looking at the schedule. So obviously we play LSU Jan 1 here. We play Missouri, Alabama, Oklahoma, and Florida for the first 5 here. What are you expecting from those first 5 games? I feel like these first 5 games, it really kicks off the SEC play. What are you expecting here for the first 5 games, and what do we need to do to be deemed successful for the first start of this SEC here? Obviously, 5-0 would be great, but I feel like it's a tall task with some of the teams that I just listed.
Yeah, well, I think at bare minimum, you have to be 3-2 coming out of that. Obviously, I think this LSU game, I'm not going to say they can't win this game. I just think there's going to be a lot of hurdles that they're going to have to get over in which to beat this LSU team. So I would have them losing that one. And really, it all comes down to that Sunday, January 11th game against Oklahoma. They're ranked 8th right now. It's can you protect home court? Will Memorial Coliseum? We've seen it at some of those games where it's been packed to the gills, and it's been a great environment. We've seen some games where, granted, it's while they're playing Hofstra or fill in the blank team Monmouth. It's against teams like that. But will the Kentucky fan base rally around this team and fill that place? Because it is a Sunday at 4 p.m. It's a weird time to play a basketball game. I think you just got to find a way to win one of those two between LSU and Oklahoma. Win one of those two. You start 4-1 in the conference, and then man, it's really just about keep momentum going because I know you're about to keep continuing to break these down, but this schedule is grueling, man. There are no breaks. There really aren't.
That's why I started with the top 5 there because I was like, I could go down this entire list, and it's just the fact that we're in the SEC. And oh, by the way, we wrap up the season against South Carolina, the projected favorites to win the conference according to USA Today. So, so that it is a tough season throughout. But I'm with you. I think we can split against LSU, Oklahoma, and then win 2 of the 3 games against Missouri, Alabama, Florida. I think that puts us in a really good start to start the
I think
SEC
you got to win
play.
all 3 of those. I think if you don't have a ranked SEC team on the road, because those games are all the Mizzou and Florida game are both going to be at home. That Alabama team, granted, I'm not going to act like I've been sitting here poring over Alabama women's basketball tape. I haven't seen anything in which says that they're supposed to be a great or elite team. I think you have to, bare minimum, it's 3-2 in this 5-game spell. I think if we're talking anything other than 3-2 with a loss to LSU and Oklahoma, like if you're talking about them losing to Mizzou, Florida, or Bama, I think we probably have a whole other conversation. But Tyler, we have 16 games in this SEC schedule. I'm gonna throw you into the fire here while I ad-lib so you can get a couple of minutes to get your prediction. For the SEC slate, what do you think that these Wildcats are going to do if you had to put a prediction? Because this team, they have to face number 5 LSU, number 8 Oklahoma, at number 23 Tennessee, versus number 12 Vanderbilt, at number 2 Texas, versus 15 Ole Miss, at number 12 Vanderbilt, and then finish the season with Don Staley coming to Memorial Coliseum and facing the South Carolina Gamecocks. This season's going to be ridiculous, Tyler. Those 16 games, what would you be happy with first off? And then what do you expect this team to do?
I mean, I would be happy with, perfect record there. That'd be great.
Well,
you want me realistic?
I think I'd be a little bit more than happy with be, just ecstatic.
Yeah, I'm looking here. I'm with you on LSU. I think we have the capabilities of winning LSU. I just don't think we do. At LSU, New Year's Day, it's tough. So I see us getting the L there. At Vandy, I see us splitting. We play them at home. We play them on the road. I see us splitting there. I think we lose South Carolina. I'm gonna say we lose four games on the road, 2 at home. So give me 10 wins here. 10-6 for SEC play.
Man, I thought I was going to be the Debbie Downer saying 11-5. I mean, what is this, Tyler? Are they not putting on enough of a show for you at historic Memorial Coliseum? They put you courtside for a game for you to watch from the mid-court stripe, and you're saying they're going to go 10-6? What is this? What have they not done for you here, man?
Well, I think just you start when you start off with a loss. I mean, you just have so much more room for error. Or you have less room for error there. So you start off with a loss, and so okay, you go 11-5, I go 10-6. Like you're splitting hairs with one game here, but you start with an L, you lose with an L, or you finish with an L, and then just 4 games in between. I mean, you're talking about games at Tennessee, number 23. You're talking about games at Texas, number 2 in the nation, and then a couple games at home. I mean, Ole Miss is coming in. You're also on the road for Vandy, Oklahoma. So I mean, between those, you're probably looking at another 2. So that's why I'm like, okay, you're probably getting 4 in the middle there. You're probably having 1 at the top, 1 at the bottom. That's 6 for me.
Yeah, what I heard was you don't believe that Kenny Brooks is the coach for this team. That's what I heard. That's what I heard you say. And personally, I disagree. I think this team.
By 1 game, you disagree.
I wanted to say 12-4, but I wanted to be realistic and I wanted to take a step back. I didn't want to drink the Kool-Aid too much because I still want to see this team face an LSU and Oklahoma before I ride the coattails a little bit too much. But I don't know, man. I see 11-5 or 12-4 depending on. And the thing is with this SEC, a lot of those games like Mizzou, Bama, the games that aren't ranked that you play on the road, normally you find a way to lose one of those games. So to what you're saying, I think there's probably a loss sprinkled in there, and that's why I went 11-5. But if you're talking about this team being, 24-6 going into the SEC tournament, I mean, I don't know if you can sign up for much better than that with the schedule that they're facing. And I think if I could sign up for that now, I probably would.
Well, to be fair, Cam, I don't see us winning the SEC tournament. Far stretch out here. I know that we haven't talked about that prediction. We can get there when we get there, but I don't think we win the SEC tournament. I don't think we go through a stretch of games where we win the SEC tournament. As of right now, just based on what we play and what I've looked into with the other teams, I think South Carolina does have a little bit of the edge there, if nothing else, in the tournament play. So I do hold it there. I do think that 10-6 there is pretty good still, and I think that leads us into a really good March Madness. But I don't know. I think 12-6 or 10-6 is good. And you know what? I drank that Kool-Aid before with Cats football, Cats basketball, and it's backfired on me. Now, granted, Cats volleyball, they kind of brought me back to life a little bit. But, I'm looking at Cats basketball right now, women's basketball. They might have the opportunity to put this Kool-Aid back in me. That way, come football season next year, I'm going to go like, hey, we're going to win 10 games first year under Will Stein. But that's up to the basketball team here. They can show off and go 12-4, 16-0. I'm back in it, baby. Right now, I'm just gonna keep it even keel. I'm gonna say, hey, logically, I think you lose one at the bottom and top, and 4 in the middle, and 10-6.
Yeah, well, you know me, Kentucky athletics, eternal optimist over here. So whatever. I mean, I looked at the SEC football schedule and UK's football schedule next year. I don't see anything less than 12 wins. Like anything less. I don't know how it's just not going to happen. Nothing less than 12 wins for the Cats next year. And a perfect SEC slate for this women's team. Tyler, we got to speak this into existence, man. Where's the positivity? I'm behind Kenny Brooks. I'm behind these girls, and I think it's going to work out to the best of the ability. And it's Thursday. It's the new year, 8 o'clock. Yes. Are there going to be college football playoff games on? Sure there are. What I advise Big Blue Nation to do, right? I know all of you want to watch these college football playoff games. Do the old 2 TV setup that I do. Or if some of you guys are fancy, unlike me, you can do the split screen. But these women, they need the support because going down to face Kim Mulkey and LSU in Baton Rouge is going to be a tough one. Tyler, do you got anything before we sign off of here?
I just have to let everybody know that because Jacob Boyers doesn't come to the women's podcast, I have to be Mr. Negative occasionally just to throw in I have to throw in some Jacob Boyers in there. I've learned well from him. Yeah. So every now and then I just have to be real with the audience here. Cam, I know you're the optimist. That's why you're here for every single show. I'll show up for the women's basketball and I'll kind of play 50. I'll do the 6-7 move for the fans here. So, but listen, Cats fans, you got to be excited. It's SEC play. Women's basketball has been doing great. We're excited to see what we can do here. Obviously, we're expecting big things from the Cats, regardless of what we think that the SEC record will be. We're expecting a winning record nonetheless. So I'm excited to see what we have, but we're going to need your support. Be there. Come say hi to us. We might be on the court, so yell it. But, if we're not there, then be on the side, and we'll be there with you, and we'll get food and all that stuff. So be there and support your Cats.
Let's put it this way, guys. If you're at Memorial Coliseum and you, for whatever reason, I don't know why you would, want to talk to either Tyler or I during the game or during halftime, before the game, whenever it is, come up, say hi. Tyler will be at the concession stand between every quarter. He'll be running up there, making sure he gets his full voucher used. So if you see him, stop him, take one of his chicken tenders, some of his fries, whatever. Help yourself.
Yeah. If you want to see us not get credentialed again, take a chicken tender.
Big Blue Nation, that's all that Cameron and Tyler of the Cats Talk podcast have for you in this one. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, wherever you get your social media. We're there. Tyler, it's SEC play. We've been waiting for this for a long time. We got LSU on Thursday, 8 p.m. Let's go ahead and take care of Kim Mulkey and these Tigers. Go Big Blue.
Go Big Blue.